You're standing at the kitchen counter. The apartment is mostly dark. Outside, someone's on the sidewalk. The sound moves past and fades. You're holding your phone, but the screen is black. You set it down. There's a version of this night that happened differently. A version where you're not here at all, where the name on the lease belongs to someone else, where the subway stop you know by heart is just a place you pass through once and forget. You almost became her. The thought arrives quietly, the way it always does. Not with drama, just there. It started in September 3 years ago. You were 32. The leaves hadn't turned yet, but the air had that first edge to it. The kind that makes you walk faster without meaning to. You'd been in New York for 7 years, long enough that you stopped noticing the noise. Long enough that your route to work was muscle memory. You worked in marketing for a company that made software nobody loved. The job was fine. Your apartment was fine. The coffee shop on your corner knew your order. Fine felt like enough. Until it didn't. It happened at a street corner, waiting for the light. You were scrolling through your phone, half reading an article about someone who'd moved to Portugal and started over. The usual kind of thing people share when they're tired, aspirational and vague. But when you looked up, something shifted. The buildings looked temporary, like sets, like you could just walk off the edge of the frame and nothing would follow. You stood there after the light changed. People moved around you. The feeling didn't have language yet, just wait. That night, you opened your laptop. You weren't sure what you were looking for. You typed how to disappear first, then deleted it. Too dramatic. You tried starting over in a new city. The results were full of blog posts and videos with thumbnails of sunsets and packed suitcases. You clicked through anyway. One article had a quiz. Where should you move based on your personality? You took it, even though you knew it was garbage. It said Portland. You'd never been to Portland. You kept reading. Someone in the comments had written about changing their name legally. Not because of marriage or transition, just because they wanted to be someone else. They described it like shedding a coat. You sat with that for a long time. The idea of walking into a room where no one had ever met you, where you weren't already categorized, where you could introduce yourself and be believed. You closed the laptop at 2 a.m. Your tea had gone cold. The next morning, you got up and went to work. You ordered your coffee. You sent your emails. But the thought stayed. It wasn't loud. It didn't demand anything. It just existed, like a second pulse. By October, you'd started making lists. Not plans, just lists. Cities you could afford. Jobs you could do remotely. What you'd keep. What you'd leave. Your best friend noticed first. She asked if you were okay over drinks one night. You said you were thinking about a change. She assumed you meant your hair. You didn't correct her. You weren't ready to say it out loud yet. That you were thinking about erasing yourself. That you wanted to find out who you'd be if no one was watching. You found an apartment online, a sublet in Seattle, available in January. The photos showed hardwood floors and a view of water. You saved the listing. You didn't apply. You looked up the process for a legal name change in Washington. It was easier than you thought. A form, a fee, a reason that didn't need to be justified. You even picked a name, Maya. You'd always liked it. It felt like someone lighter. You imagined introducing yourself. Hi, I'm Maya. Clean, new, unattached. The fantasy was so clear you could taste it. Walking through Pike Place Market as someone else. Ordering coffee as Maya. Building a life without explanation. You held it in your hands like something fragile. But you didn't move forward. Not yet. November came. The air turned sharp. You walked differently, like you were already halfway gone. You stopped buying things for the apartment. No new books, no dish soap in bulk. Everything felt temporary. Your coworker asked if you were moving. You said maybe. She said she'd done the same thing once, almost left everything. She'd gotten as far as buying the ticket. Then her mom got sick, and she stayed. She said it casually, like it didn't matter, but you heard it differently. The life she didn't live, still there, still possible in some other version. You called the number for the Seattle sublet in December. A woman answered. She sounded young. She said the place was still available. She asked when you'd want to move in. You said January 15th. She said great, she'd send the lease. You hung up and sat very still. The lease came 2 days later. You printed it. You read it 3 times. There was a line for your signature, a line for your legal name. You got a pen. You held it over the paper. If you signed, you'd have to give notice at work. You'd have to tell your family. You'd have to pack your life into boxes and decide what version of yourself you were taking. The name change could come later. First, you'd just be you in a new place. Then maybe you'd become Maya. Or maybe you wouldn't. Maybe just the move would be enough. You put the pen down. You told yourself you'd sign it tomorrow. Tomorrow came. You didn't sign it. You told yourself you needed one more day. The deadline passed. The woman from Seattle emailed. She'd found someone else. You read the message 3 times. You didn't reply. You put the unsigned lease in a drawer.
If you'd signed it, if you'd become Maya,
You would have left on a Tuesday morning in January, the kind of gray day that makes New York feel like it's holding its breath. You would have fit your life into 4 suitcases, less than you thought, more than you needed. The Uber would have been quiet. The driver wouldn't have asked where you were going, just loaded your bags and drove. At the airport, you would have felt it, the untethering, walking through security with a one-way ticket, boarding a plane to a city you'd only seen in photos, sitting by the window and watching New York disappear below. Seattle would have been raining when you landed. You would have taken a ride share to the apartment. The driver would have asked if you were visiting. You would have said you just moved here. The words would have felt strange in your mouth, true and not true at the same time. The apartment would have been smaller than the photos, the view of the water only visible if you stood in the right corner of the living room. But it would have been yours. No history, no one asking why. That first night you would have ordered takeout, sat on the floor because you didn't have furniture yet, eaten pad thai in silence. The quiet would have been enormous. The first week would have been practical, setting up the internet, finding the grocery store, learning which coffee shop had the good light. You would have walked a lot, trying to learn the city by foot, letting it settle into your body. People would have been kind. The barista would have smiled. Your neighbor would have held the door. No one would have known you. You would have started working remotely. Your boss agreed, reluctantly. You told her it was temporary. You both knew you were lying. The work would have been the same emails, the same meetings over video, but your coworkers would have noticed something. You'd sound different, lighter maybe, or just further away. You wouldn't have updated your LinkedIn. By February, you would have made one friend, another woman at the coffee shop. She worked in tech. She'd ask what brought you to Seattle. You would have said you needed a change. She wouldn't have pressed. You would have met for drinks once. She'd invite you to a dinner party. You'd go even though you didn't know anyone. You'd introduce yourself as you, not Maya, not yet. The name change paperwork would have been sitting in your bag for 3 weeks, unsigned. March would have brought cherry blossoms. You would have walked through them alone, petals sticking to the wet sidewalk. You'd think about calling your mom. You hadn't told her you'd moved, not really. You'd said you were traveling for work. The lie would have gotten heavier. One night she'd call. You'd let it go to voicemail. Her voice would ask if you were okay. She'd sound worried. You'd text back. You'd say you were fine. You wouldn't call. By April, the loneliness would have had texture. Not the dramatic kind, just the steady kind. The kind that lives in the space between your routine and your life. You would have made more friends. Surface friends. People who liked you but didn't know you. Because how could they know you when you weren't sure who you were trying to be? The name Maya would have felt like a costume you hadn't put on yet. The idea of introducing yourself that way would have seemed absurd now. Too late. You'd already been you for 3 months. You would have thrown the paperwork away. At a street corner one morning, waiting for the light to change, you would have seen a woman with a New York Yankees hat. The feeling would have hit you sideways. Homesickness. Not for the place, for the version of yourself that knew where she belonged. You would have stood there after the light changed, people moving around you, like before, but different. That night, you would have opened your laptop. You'd look at flights back to New York. Not to move, just to visit. The prices would have been reasonable. You'd hover over the purchase button. You wouldn't click. You'd tell yourself you just needed more time. But the truth would have been quieter. You'd left, but you hadn't arrived. You were still in between, still waiting to become someone. And Maya was just a name you'd liked once. You're still in New York. The apartment is the same. The subway stop is the same. The coffee shop on your corner still knows your order. You didn't leave. Sometimes you wonder what she's doing. The version of you who signed the lease, who became Maya, who walks through Seattle in the rain like she was born there. You imagine her happy, or at least different. But you know it's not that simple. You kept the unsigned lease for a year. It lived in your desk drawer, under old tax forms and a stack of birthday cards you'd never thrown away. Last month, you finally recycled it. It didn't feel like closure, just like cleaning. The idea of leaving is still there. It comes and goes, a low frequency. But it's different now. Less like an emergency exit, more like a door you know exists. You're 35 now. 3 years past the version of yourself who stood at that street corner and felt the world go transparent. You still work in marketing. Different company, same kind of software nobody loves. You still walk the same routes. You still order the same coffee. But you notice things differently now. The woman at the bodega who always asks about your day. The way the light hits your kitchen in the morning. The sound of your neighbor's daughter practicing violin through the wall. Small anchors. Small reasons. Last week, you ran into your friend, the one who thought you were changing your hair. She asked if you ever made that change you were thinking about. You said you did. She asked what you changed. You said you stayed. She looked confused. You didn't explain. Tonight, you're standing at the kitchen counter. The apartment is mostly dark. Someone's laughing on the sidewalk outside. The sound moves past and fades. At the street corner tomorrow morning, you'll wait for the light. You'll look at the buildings. They'll be solid. And somewhere, in some version, Maya is waking up in Seattle, looking at the water, wondering what her life would have been if she'd stayed. You hope she's okay. You put your phone in your pocket. You turn on the light.